Welcome to Still Evolving, where we explore the truth behind lasting performance and resilience. Rather than relying on perfection or superhuman ability, our conversation will highlight how real strength emerges through simple, intentional habits grounded in self-compassion, adaptability, and the ability to grow through life's inevitable setbacks. Today's guest is Joshua Hoffman. Joshua is Chief Revenue Officer at ControlCase, where he leads global revenue, marketing, and go-to-market strategy. With over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity and compliance, he has built and scaled high-performance teams across leading technology and service organizations. He is known for driving collaborative, outcome-focused growth with partners and customers worldwide. Please welcome Joshua to the show. Awesome. Welcome, Joshua, to Still Evolving. Very grateful to have you here on the show.
Thanks so much, Dr. Amy. It's great to be here.
Why don't we just kick it off? If you can share with our audience a bit about your journey, maybe where you came from, all the way to what you're working on now, highlights in between.
Well, sure. It's hard to keep it brief when it's been this many years, but started off in Boston and spent my time there through high school. I had a chance to move down to Texas to go to school and have had at least a front door to open in Austin since, 1987. So that dates me a little bit. But I've had the chance to live in China, India, Miami, San Diego, and all the while have had this sort of great experience of getting new cultures, new companies, a lot of growth with family. And so I'm blessed with an amazing bride, Jennifer, and two great boys, Noam and Nico. And the professional journey has been it's an interesting one. It is certainly one where I had a lot of failure at the beginning and had to take a step back, reassess, found my way back into what I think I'm truly good at and truly love, and got a chance to take some of those lessons and apply them along the way.
Fantastic. And tell our audience a little bit about what you're working on now.
So right now I work at ControlCase. ControlCase, we are at our core an audit and compliance company. We are the company that actually signs off on people's compliance journeys, primarily cybersecurity related. Things like SOC 2, PCI, CMMC, HIPAA. So, and if you're in that world, those are kind of the household names, but we certify to 67 different frameworks around the world. We do business in 73 countries. We have a growth business that is based on helping make the journey a little bit less expensive, a little bit less stressful, a little bit easier for our clients. And we found a pathway to helping our clients and our partners through this journey that usually is outrageously painful. And we've done it through a great amount of tech enablement. We've had the chance to deploy a lot of AI into it. But behind the scenes, what's really important is that we have hundreds of great people that care about making sure that clients complete the journey. And that people kind of oriented service business has made a huge difference for the thousands of clients that we've helped around the world. It's an exciting place to be. And in some of these areas, things like CMMC, which is related to the defense industrial base, there's a lot of newness to it. And we're helping to create some order out of chaos. It's been quite the journey.
I love it. Well, from many of our listeners who are familiar with our previous conversations, certainly when we hear parts of the journey that reflect, and you named it failure early on, or even now, present day, leading to help bring order, stability, and leadership through chaos. Those kind of I guess, spark interest, right? And so I am really interested in hearing more from you. When the adversity has struck, what has helped you perhaps evolve as a human, just in person, to be able to show up in those moments, or even as now Chief Revenue Officer, how you're able to help lead your team and show up and still make such an impact during challenge?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it does start off with the failure. And so earlier in my career, when I made the decision that I wanted to be a sales guy, I failed over and over and over again. Part of it was the roles that I chose. Part of it was probably my attitude. Part of it was maybe just the environment that I was in. It wasn't a good spot for me. And I had to take a step back. And I was always focused on technology. And I found myself going back in and being much more tech oriented and working in manufacturing environments and working talking, doing motherboard tech work and things like that. And I was fortunate that Dell gave me the opportunity. This is back in 1991, where they came to manufacturing and said, the phone's ringing off the hooks. We need some help. And me and this other guy, Rick, who I'll always cherish for many reasons, we got selected out of the group to go back into sales. And I found myself all of a sudden experiencing success and realizing that I could be different about it. And I think it was that time away that gave me some perspective. But over the years, that journey changed a lot. I went from being, I don't know, your typical sales guy. It was all about money. It was all about the dollar. And over the years, I've learned that it's really all about partnering with customers and trying to view the challenges that they're going through, not necessarily just as a sales opportunity, but as a chance to create a solution, and trying to view the problem or the opportunity or the challenge on the other side of the table, and me and the partner or the client on the same side of the table. And that learning is something that's carried forward not only into the success that I had in sales myself, but also into how I lead teams. How do you sell with the customer instead of sell to the customer? And it's been an approach that it tends to create a lot of satisfaction on all sides. Everybody wins. And that's really the outcome that I'm going for, is that there's this symbiosis that you can have in sales where everybody has a good outcome, and trying to strive for that in every interaction.
I love it. So many things pop to my mind when I talk about common themes of high performance across performance domains. And one of the ones that you're just sharing on is this choice we all have to focus on that outcome or to focus on the process and the key ingredients that, if we are very deliberate and tend to, ultimately increases the risk that that desired outcome will occur anyway.
Yeah.
I share the story. There's not a head football coach I worked with in the Power Four, whoever said, well, day in, day out, like, well, we want to win the championship. That's why we're doing this in practice. Or that's what we're doing in the game plan. Everyone was like, no shit. Like, we want to win a championship, right? Like, that was just understood, right? And in private industry, I would have the same response, like, no shit. You want to grow, you want to drive revenue, right? Yet, if that is your focus, oftentimes with the high performance mindset, that's one of the number one threats that can undermine your team's ability to achieve that desired outcome, is that an over focus on that outcome, or the meaning that that outcome holds,
Yeah.
right, actually undermines your ability to get there. And so what you're talking about is like, let's get back to the drawing board and talk about maybe what is the mindset that we need to have, the perspective that like, we're in this together and we're here to help have a shared experience that actually helps us each achieve what we're looking to achieve, whether that's, impact, or whether that's security, or whether that's sales, whatnot.
Yes.
But being in that together and taking care of your people in that journey is so critical in getting there.
No question. I mean, look, you've got to have compassion on all sides. And that compassion is not only for the client and what they're trying to solve, but also for the people on the team and what they're trying to work through. Look, I wouldn't be sitting in this seat if I didn't always have the outcome in mind. That's what I do. It's who I am. If you view it in the most simple context, we've got a number to make. And that's part of the job of growing a company. And I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of companies that have grown in stellar ways. Dell and Palo Alto Networks and Datto, and now here at ControlCase and a handful of others in between. And everybody has to remain focused on the outcome. There's no question about it. But how you get there is what matters. And if you can find a way to make it collaborative, and it's not just internally collaborative, but externally collaborative, whether it's with client, partner, or both simultaneously, because we work on a lot of sell with strategies with partners as well, then you can find a way where not only do you actually achieve the results you're supposed to, but people feel good about it. And in the role that I'm in today, and actually really almost every role that I've had in my career, I've been selective that way. We have a chance to make the world better. We have a chance to make the world safer. We have a chance to make the world more protected. We have a chance to preserve, whether it's a company's assets or people's personal information or people's credit information. We do PCI audits, which has a lot to do with the payment industry. You have an opportunity to make sure that people really feel good about what they've accomplished. And that should be part of the mission. It's not just about making the sale. It's not just about getting that audit report back and say, oh, good, I passed. It's about making things better. And I've tried to brand myself as making the world a little bit safer, a little bit better.
Love it. I'm reminded oftentimes from the military, you'll hear success is defined by accomplishing a mission and taking care of your people.
Yeah,
And if you do the former, not the latter, well, you're not really living up in that equation, right?
that's
So
right.
I'm curious in these very fast paced, often some people would call volatile, uncertain times, what helps you stay grounded, like refueling, recharging to be able to be that leader that shows up and has the energy, has the bandwidth to also extend and to take care of your people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not perfect at this and I don't want to claim to be. And I'm sure there's times people will say, oh man, that was not an easy call or that wasn't an easy conversation. But I work really hard to keep a smile on my face and to remember that what we're doing is good work and we're doing it with good people. And if we maintain that positive outlook and that high energy perspective, then we're all going to be the better for it. And, again, sometimes it takes that extra cup of coffee. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a breath to make sure that you're living in the moment the right way. But I do my best to make sure that we're always viewing things together. Again, back to that statement I made earlier about we're on one side of the table and the challenges on the other side of the table, whether that's internal with our team here or whether we have the customer on the same side of the table with us, that posture, it certainly makes people feel better. Winning as a team is an exceptional feeling. It's great to say, oh, wow, I really did that myself. But if you can win as a team, things are that much better.
Absolutely. And the power that comes from that optimistic vision. Like, I don't hear you painting it all rosy and kind of denying the challenge ahead, but right, how we show up, the energy that we bring it can really seep in. That attitude seeps into our actions, right? So, as a leader, I love just even taking a pause, finding a grounding moment for a deep breath before you jump on whatever number Zoom it is for the day. But
Yeah.
it can really important. So, what do you do for fun? Get away. We talk about the power of play for recovery. Do you take a step back, just go sign off of all this and just take care of you with anything kind of hobbies or what helps?
Yeah, so a couple things. So first of all, we have a very active family. So I've got one 16-year-old boy, Nico, and another 21-year-old, Noam, and my wife, Jennifer, and we've got great dogs, and there's a lot of activity in the house. There's a lot of let's go on a hike or let's go find some way to be outside and spend time together in a way that gives that extra added energy. And we have a little piece of property about 30 miles outside of Austin and getting to go out there. And so Jennifer calls it farm therapy. Sometimes just getting on a tractor or getting on the Bobcat and doing something productive that's not necessarily oriented towards the profession that I have, that is a breath of fresh air for me. But I think most of the time that I spend to get that recharge is family oriented. And that's I think the best thing that I can do for myself and for my family is to make sure that, look, we all work hard, but when we step back, let's make sure that the time that we spend is valuable. And don't get me wrong, I'm just as prone to binge watching a TV show every once in a while,
I, I love it.
but but
I
we try
love
and
it.
do things different. So
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, I think it's brilliant. And one of the, hopefully, the messages that I convey in these conversations is that how we refuel and what we need to recover, it looks different to everyone, right? Like for you, talking about farm therapy or even just the time with the family, or yes, binging on that TV show, that's the adult play and it matters. And I think we lose sight of that as we age, like we get really kind of locked in. And unfortunately, along the way, somehow the attitude shifted like, oh, that's being lazy. And it's actually not. It's recharging, it's refueling, just like we have to fill up our gas tanks along the way. We're not going to get from point A to point B across the country, on
yeah,
one tank. So,
it makes a huge difference. We spend a lot of time in our
huge.
family on philanthropic pursuits as well. And that kind of giving is also incredibly energizing. And being able to spend time doing something that's productive and helping others in an altruistic manner makes a huge difference. And we've devoted a lot of our life to making sure that we're doing those things as well. And so it's not always on the farm. Sometimes it's doing something different, but that recharge matters.
Absolutely. The connection really is powerful. So, Joshua, typically we like to kind of recap and come back to those immediate and actionable strategies that people can use. I can sit and nerd out on mindset and the power of our village or recovery all day and why that matters for not just being able to show up in our moments that matter, but sustaining that performance over time. But sometimes people just want to know, okay, all right, what the hell can I do? I've got all this going on, I'm juggling all these balls, I'm driven, very achievement oriented, but I just need one thing that perhaps maybe makes an impact and helping me show up in my daily, like you said, the kind of the calm and the chaos. What do you use daily that others may be able to use in their lives?
Well, for me, it's about, and this may be bad phrasing or bad English, but it's the concept of with. I do my best to make sure that the majority of my day is spent with other people and getting energy from being creative together, from being collaborative together and solving problems, but also from the stance that we can help others achieve their goals. And if there's a learning opportunity for somebody, if there is a way to help bring them into a conversation that they might not have been a part of before, that helps them expand their perspective in their career, I do the best that I can to make sure that there's always as much of a group as is possible inside of conversations. And so when I was talking earlier about branding myself, part of it is making the world safer. Another way that I've tried to create a brand or an experience over the course of my career is helping people find a career they only thought aspirational. And the best way that you can do that is by bringing them into situations that that they would normally not be a part of, and giving them the chance to learn, to make mistakes, to offer up ideas and get feedback, to be coached, and at times, candidly, because I'm not always perfect, to coach me and to give me an opportunity to get better. And while I'm not always perfect at accepting feedback, so again, it's not always rosy, I do my best to listen and say, well, what could I have done better in that situation? How would you coach me? What would you keep or what would you change? And try and find a way to expand who I am as a person, as a leader. But in the end, it's really all about being a good human being. And again, not always perfect. I have my moments, I think, like everybody else. But I work really hard to at least be true to myself, to be true to the people that I'm with, and to live with integrity and compassion. And it tends to work out. So I think I'm doing an okay job.
I love that. The tool of with. I think that's so critical. And you highlight like not only going back earlier to like what fuels you, like being able to give back and empower and help lift, bring others into experiences that maybe they wouldn't had otherwise,
Yeah.
had access to or really pursued on their own, but also the value that comes in your own learning. And if you're open to that, there's nothing like really consolidating your own knowledge and experience when you have to teach or lead others, right? Like you really know what gaps are there for you when you're the one trying to like lead the way. So it really helps you develop.
So let me make this not so one way. So tell me, what do you do to recharge? What do you do to bring some of that about?
First and foremost, I do like reading. I do more on the like the screens than I prefer. And sometimes, well, right now it's a lot within like the professional domain, so performance wellness kind of information. But I am hopeful that my life will open up so I can just have kind of like the silly TV show, but I'll have the fiction novel that. Romance novel. I can just just kind of get away from the nerding out part. And I guess the second thing I would say the power of like connecting with family and very close friends. I'm a mom. I have a 17 and 19-year-old and they've kept me busy. But I would like to say it was really the refueling from the connections that came from being a mom of kids involved in sport or activity. Probably didn't always pay attention well, certainly not at their pride. Drop them off, be able to go and hit happy hour with the other moms. But it was the connection that came through that community that really matters. So, and then probably my kids will laugh if I don't say this, but I have a tendency the shows to rewatch them, like binge and watch just on repeat. Like, so I have West Wing and Madam Secretary that I probably could say the lines to. But there's something about the predictable and the characters in the writing that I've always just found kind of just soothing, and I don't have to think. That's the other thing. I don't think. I just kind of like can take a break. So
Yeah, look, if you can
that's the kind of mind silly.
Taylor Leone rule the world, then you can figure out how to get anything done.
Hey, what more do you
So,
need?
yeah. Well, look, you've devoted your life and career to helping others get better. And so the way that you find to recharge yourself, it only makes you better at what you do when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. For sure. Joshua, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation. And most importantly, just really appreciate your candidness and being real. That was also the intent of sharing back these conversations is like, we don't have to be shooting for the gold medal or jumping out of planes, but there's some really key immediate actionable strategies we can all use to kind of help in our own lives, whatever role that might be, show up and sustain being able to show up over the long haul. So thank you again. I'm grateful for the conversation today.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me on. Look, in the end, we're all teammates in this world. And so if we treat each other that way, everybody wins. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.